Hello, my name is Tammy. I'm the president of Fun and Adventure at Singles Travel International. Excuse me while I light my cigar. I am here tonight with our friends who some of them have traveled together and some of them are just meeting for the first time, but they are going to Cuba for New Year's Eve. And so we're going to smoke cigars, we're going to dance salsa, we're going to celebrate in Cuba. We have an amazing guide who is Cuban that's going to show you guys the time of your life and really give you an in-depth look at what it's like to live in Cuba, what it's been like for the last, since the revolution in 1959 and what it's like today. So you're going to learn so much, and that's part of the curriculum when you go as a US citizen to engage with the Cuban people and spend at least 6 hours a day learning and touring and engaging. So tonight, the purpose is for you to meet each other, which we did a little meet and greet before we started the video. And now I'm going to go through all of the details of the program till you get to Havana and you meet up with Carla and answer all your questions. So everybody feels comfortable about the trip. So I have to tell you, I'm not a big cigar smoker. Got one here tonight, but I do smoke them when I'm in Cuba. So they have tiny little ones. They're called Cohiba. Those are the most famous, and you can take a little tiny one. It's like a cigarette and give it a shot. So first, everybody in the group received an email 21 days before departure that was called "Your final vacation details and meetup info document is now ready." Click here to access it. We also put it on the trip page, so it's here on this left-hand navigation under your travel documents. When you click on that, it opens up this PDF page. So here we've got the list of our members. We are only limited to 10 going to Cuba because we want to give you great service, but also there are some constraints about the number of people that we're able to bring in on a single tour. You are going to a communist country. Everything that you know and love as far as being leaders and in charge, leave it home because you're not in charge of anything when you get to Cuba. You have no rights and you've got to go with the flow. So we're going to do everything we can to make it comfortable, to make it interesting. You probably won't notice it, but if there's anything that goes awry, you've got to lean into Carla and let her guide you because we're Americans. I'm a supercharger. So I don't like the word no. It's not in my vocabulary. But when you go to a place like Cuba, where it's a communist country, we don't have a say in how life goes down there. So we're coming to Cuba as observers. So the first page on the program attests to that. We all had to sign off that we are coming under a special license and that we would adhere to all of the requirements for the license. Some of them include that you have to have a visa, that you are going to engage at least 6 hours a day on tour, and that you're going to be learning about the Cuban people and that we're supporting entrepreneurship, as well as keeping a diary of your trip. So it can be a very simple calendar, day to day. You've got our itinerary. That's enough. You can put your notes on there. As long as you keep that for 5 years when you come home, then you will have been in compliance. I've been to Cuba 5 times myself, but I have never been requested by the Department of the Treasury. I've never been called in or asked to participate, but that is one of the requirements. So just keep this itinerary for the next 5 years and keep a couple of notes. We know that we're in compliance and everything that we're going to be doing with you is in compliance when you're in Cuba. So these are your traveling companions. We have a nice handy checklist for you to get ready for the trip, and everybody's ready. So that's the good news. By the time we got here tonight, you're all almost everybody has their visas. You've got your passport valid for 6 months. If you haven't looked at that, please look, because you do have to have that in play. Otherwise, you'll have an issue when you get to the airport. So we still have a couple of days left. You had to do an emergency, but check your passports. Everybody had to have travel insurance. So we know that you all do, because you either purchased it with our company Travel Guard, or you purchased that on your own and provided your policy to us. And we verified that they were eligible for Cuba. You've got your blank Cuban visas that we're going to fill out tonight. And you filled out your complete fit and willing to travel, which is a Google Doc that we collect flights. We collect your why. Why do you want to go to Cuba? So that Carla knows more about you individually when she meets you, and she can make this trip life changing. I know for Mercedes here today, she talked about this being her first trip back in over 50 years. She was born in Cuba. So this is a life changing event for her. And we hope for you too, in a positive way. And then, of course, you're attending tonight's event. So I'm just going to go down to the next page here. And if anybody has questions, by all means, go ahead and raise a hand or speak up. This is an open evening tonight. We always talk about socializing, getting to meet other singles. You're here tonight. You had access to each other on the private chat. You could send messages. And then we always ask that you post on your social media. Well, here's an interesting thing about Cuba. You're not going to have unlimited access to social media. Then there's no Starbucks. So we're really into an interesting scenario here. But Carla, when you arrive, will help you get situated with the internet. It's probably going to be remember we used to have phone cards years ago to call long distance nationally. So she will help you get connected, and it's probably going to be via a phone card of some sort. And it's going to be a kind of a dial up. You have to log in, put in the code, and then you'll have access to the internet. But she'll make sure that everybody gets connected. So you're probably not going to post a lot on social media, but Carla is on Facebook, and she probably wants to make friends with you at the end of the program. So I'm going to just make sure that she knows that you guys have to put the singles travel post in your put the link in your post, put the hashtag singles travel international. We love it. All your friends that you've traveled with around the world want to see these pictures. So again, it will be limited, but if you have that opportunity and you don't mind, it's fun for everybody else at home. While you're traveling to Cuba, if you have any delays at all, please call our number, 877-SOLO-TRIP or 877-765-6874. Press 0 for the first available person on the team. If it's after hours, we'll call you right back. So we know that you're traveling on the 29th. So we will be available that day. So it's a normal work day. If it's early in the morning, don't worry, just hit 0. And one of us will call you back right away. And then we'll communicate with Carla any changes. Carla is also on WhatsApp. So let me just see. I don't know if we put her number in here, but I'm going to connect you guys with Carla on WhatsApp. So then that way, before you get to Havana, you could also send her a message. And so it may be down here in the letter. We may get to that, but I will share that with everybody because I think that's the most efficient way. Now, obviously, once you get to Havana, you're not going to have access, but she will be at the airport to pick you up with a car and a driver to take you to your residence. Let's see, moving down, we talked about insurance. All of you have it, so I won't expand on that. If your luggage doesn't show up when you get to Havana, please be sure that you make a report with the airline. I think a lot of you are on American Airlines, but regardless, you're all very well-traveled people, but it's just a small thing. Sometimes things get mixed up and the representatives at the airport may give you the wrong information, but it is wrong if they don't fill out a report for you. They always have to fill out a report. They identify the bag and they're going to give you a claim number, and it's usually 6 digits. So you're going to share that with Carla, that report. So you have a copy of the report and that claim number so that she and I can converse, and we can also make sure that we're following up to see what's happening with your luggage. So much ado about luggage. Hopefully nothing will happen and it'll all get there on time. But if it doesn't, make sure you get that report filed. These are everybody's arrival flights. If none of this is correct, I see Chris is up here, but we have his flights. So if your flight information is not correct, please let us know right away, because I'm going to share this with Carla so she picks you up at the right time and she'll monitor your flight arrival. So if there is a delay, they'll also be monitoring it. And you're listed here alphabetically by your first names. So that's really important. That's the key, because that's your first point of entry into the country, and we want to know when you're coming. Carla will be there, and she's going to be holding a sign that says Singles Travel International after you exit the customs area. Okay, and then she's going to take you into Old Havana for a tour. Depending on the arrival, let's see, everybody's coming in at 1:30. I see Kimberly's a little bit later. Some of you, the earlies, may go to your residence and then meet up for the tour, but Carla will fill you in when you get there. Here's her number. There you go. So let's put Carla's number into your contacts, and that is also her WhatsApp number. So I'm looking at her number right now. It comes up on my phone in WhatsApp as +53 5254 0556. So I think once you put it into WhatsApp, you have to put the plus sign in there, right? Because it's international. So put the plus before the 53. And you have this letter, so I'll move on, but just make sure that you have that in there. And if you don't have WhatsApp and you need help with that, just give us a call. We'll help you with the downloading of that, because I think that that's going to be a critical number to have. On this next page here, page 5, we've got the accommodations, and we're going to be in 3 different residences. So we have group 1 is going to be Andy and Kimberly. So you guys are in a 2-bedroom unit, and everybody has their own bedroom and their own bathroom. You're going to share a common area of the kitchen. You have a woman that comes in every morning that makes breakfast for everybody, and she will clean your residence. And anything you need, you can let her know. You can let Carla know. You can let her know. They're very, very accommodating and so happy to serve us. So they're your Hazel for the time that you're in the guest house. Barry is, and so group 2, we have all the guys. Barry, Chris, Robert, and Gordon. So the 4 guys are in another residence with 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms. And then in the 3rd unit, we have Pamela, we have Sally, we have Ginny, and we have Mercedes. Okay, so you don't have to worry too much about it. I'm just translating what this means here. Carla is lovely and so organized, and her English is impeccable. She'll probably tell you, but she has 6 years of law school. She chooses to be a tour guide because it's more lucrative for them in Cuba. Otherwise, they earn a stipend of $30 a month. regardless of their profession. So being an entrepreneur in Cuba, yes, they can and they do, and they pay taxes to the government to be able to do that, but it's much better. They're much better off than if they just do a government job. She's going to tell you more and more and ask questions. She may not be able to answer all of them, but she will, you know, if she's able to, she will. Most people are pretty open as long as they, because there are ears in Cuba. This is another thing that we can't even imagine, right? We don't know, but every neighborhood in Cuba has somebody who is a listener. Every neighborhood. So it's and she'll talk about that. So they've lived a life of being cautious. But I've toured with her many, many times. So you're going to hear a lot of information. So there's a lot that they can talk about. So that's how we'll break you up by the residences. Here's all your inclusive features. And one of the, I think the highlight for you is, I mean, there's going to be so many, but that New Year's Eve at the Tropicana Cabaret is going to be amazing. And I don't want to tell you anything about it because it's a surprise each act. And it's really going to be something iconic that you'll remember for the rest of your life. So let's see. Here's the itinerary. Tonight, I'm not going to go through this because you have it. If you have questions, though, please raise your hand. Some of the questions I get is, how about the horseback riding? Do I have to horseback ride? No, you don't have to horseback ride. But it's English, I mean, sorry, it's Western style. So we have a saddle. And Carla will offer alternatives if you don't want a horseback ride. But if you're willing to give it a try, you know, it's a unique experience. But nobody has to do it. So any other questions? I'm open about the itinerary. Does anybody have any questions about the itinerary?
Are you talking about that day or all days?
Any of the days, were there any questions that came up after you read through the itinerary, something that wasn't clear that you might have a question about?
Yeah, I have a few. First is, what do you recommend the dress code be for the excursions that we're going on? Are jeans appropriate? Do we need hiking boots or tennis shoes? Okay. What do
Yeah,
you?
tennis shoe. Okay, great question. All the questions are good, guys, you know, because you have never been there. So it's going to be hot. So the day you ride the horse, then you might want to wear jeans if you're going to ride, because that's the best dress code for that. But any of the other days, it's going to be hot down there. It's hot and humid. I'm like this right now. I'm living in Florida. It's boiling in my building. So wherever you're coming from, it's hot down here. It's going to be in the 80s. It's going to be humid. So you know, and we're not doing any hiking. So you're not really going to need hiking boots. Regular gym shoes or sneakers are fine. I would just be comfortable, casual. There's nothing dressy except for the night that we're at the Tropicana. It's formal. So it doesn't mean a tuxedo, but ladies wear a fancy dress. You're welcome to. This is a paramount event for Cuba, New Year's Eve, and to be at the Tropicana, it's really something. So dress beautifully. And guys, you know, if you can wear a jacket, wear a jacket. It's not required, but I would say you won't be out of place if you wear one.
Now, Tammy, I did have an additional question along the lines you were just talking. Should we be more on the flashy side for, you know, that event, the New Year's Eve event, or more on the conservative side?
No, you can wear like, and so here's the thing: it's the Latinos are flashy, so I hope nobody gives me a hard time about this, but they love bling, right? So if you have bling, it's okay. You can do that. The thing about, I mean, maybe I'm, and if I'm wrong about this, but I'm hearing this. So we're going to Cuba. We know that it's a communist country. You know that they're oppressed, but they're people and they love life. And there's not a great deal of crime in Cuba. So you're not, I wouldn't wear a Rolex watch. You don't have to overdo it, but you can wear a pretty dress. You can have some bling on your dress. You can dress nicely. I probably wouldn't say you need to bring fancy jewelry.
Okay,
And it's not because I don't think that you're going to be at risk yourselves, but they are humble and it's a humble situation. So you don't have to look super affluent, but you should look nice and presentable for that night because everybody there will dress up. Does that help?
Yes.
Yes. And heels, you're gonna go in a classic car. So wear a beautiful dress. It's gonna be a great night for photos.
now, one other question, Tammy, you mentioned Cuban cigars a few times here. Are we allowed to buy those and bring them back to the US?
100%, as many as you want.
Really?
The only
Okay.
limitation is that you cannot resell them. And you cannot you can't bring them back for resale. But right now, there's no restriction on the number of cigars you can bring back as gifts and for your own personal use. And Carla will take you to a shop. You'll have opportunity. She'll take you because there's some places where they're not really Cuban. They're Dominican tobacco, so they're less, and so that happens. Sometimes you go places and they'll give it to you for better. But a good Cuban cigar, like the one I have right here, this is a piece of paper, but a good cigar like this, a Churchill, I mean, they're going to be like $10 to $20 for a real Cuban cigar, even in Cuba.
Okay.
So she'll take you to a legitimate joint. You can buy them by the box. You can, you can bring as many back as you want.
Okay.
So do so.
That is all the questions I have.
Okay, no problem. And I have a little comment. Somebody says, "Oh, I live in Key West and it was 66 degrees." And it was this morning. I live in Palm Beach Gardens. But right now, when I got in my car, it was starting to warm up. So you guys are going in another 10, 20 days. So just look at your weather. But this is a tropical island in the Caribbean. I will be shocked if you have cool weather. But you all know how to look up the weather the couple of days before you go. Do a 10-day forecast and do your packing accordingly. But my gut it'll be that it'll be warm.
May I ask a question real quick?
First, no, you can take a long one if you want.
I know I'm not going to do that, or I'm trying not to. I mean, I looked over everything, and you mentioned about jeans for riding the horse, and I saw that at one point in during the farm, it says there's a choice between riding the horse or wine and cheese, and then later there's something about that everything's horseback riding. Do we still have a choice no matter which way on any occasion?
Yeah, yes. And Carla, she's aware that not everybody's going to be able to do.
It's been a long time since I've ridden. I'm just going to put it that way.
Oh yeah, me too. I never liked it anyway. I was scared, a little scared.
Yeah. No, I was just wondering.
Jenny is horseback riding every opportunity.
That's good. And you know what? No, there'll be choices. So this is the official itinerary. Carla, just let her know when you get to her where you stand on that horseback. And then I'll give her a little heads up tonight that there might be a couple people that are not interested. She and I talked about it already. So she'll make sure that you have options. What else? Any other questions about the itinerary or just anything? Okay, so I'm going to move through. I mean, major highlights. I'm envious of you guys in a way because I do love Cuba. It's one of my favorite places. And we're not going to have access to this. This is my own personal opinion, but now that I see that they're all on social media, even though I told you it's a challenge for internet. So you might go driving by on a tour bus with Carla or with the classic cars, and then you'll see maybe 100 people standing next to a building. Well, they're accessing internet because they have an open Wi-Fi. That's what's going on there when you see that. It's still not readily available to everybody. But since they have internet today, which they didn't have 10, 20 years ago, they have eyes on the rest of the world. So it's very interesting to me. I'm keeping my eyes open. I'm watching. I have an alert on Cuba in my Google searches so that I get updates every day. I'm watching the news. It's very, I can't imagine that, yeah, anyway, I don't want to say too much, but it's a good time for you guys to go and see what it looks like. And I don't have any answers. This is just my thoughts on the subject. These are your departure flights. Again, please double check if there's anything that's not correct, contact us immediately so that we know how to change it. That last day, you're coming from Trinidad, which is why we said, please book your flights after 1, and everybody did, which is great. So she'll make sure everybody gets to the airport on time that day. Next up is, we talked about a little bit about weather and attire. So again, AC in restaurants, it's not maybe as cold as we know it. But you may want to bring a little something for the evening in case you are in a restaurant and you get cold. For my case, I go back and forth, hot, cold, so layers on, layers off. And then for the Tropicana semi-formal attire, comfortable walking shoes. You guys will do a lot of walking, and a little, maybe a lightweight rain. Like I like a lightweight waterproof rain jacket with a hood. If you have that, that's a nice touring item to have so that you can kind of, ball it up. It goes in your bag, or you can, tie the sleeves around your waist. And if it starts to rain, at least you have a little something. Okay, so the topic of money, this is packing tips, but we put it in here. Again, I opened up the meeting with a diplomatic attitude. It's really important, again, that we understand that we're guests in a communist country. There is nothing democratic about anything that goes on there. We have no rights about, anything that's going on. So I don't want to scare you. I'm a very demanding person. Even before I spent 10 years in New York, I was a New Yorker. I hope no one takes offense about that, but I just don't like no for an answer. But in Cuba, I have to put on my humble hat and be open to, maybe some things aren't going to go our way there. Carla's amazing, but there might be a reason for some adaptation. That's always the way in touring. You guys are well traveled, you know that. And so just keep that in mind. As far as money, because that's the next thing on my list. This is the biggie. What's different? Like the internet's different, but money in Cuba. So no credit cards are eligible or valid in Cuba. Nothing, ever, none. So you have to bring cash. So the maximum amount of cash that you are able to bring into the country is 5,000. I don't think you need that. But I go into this at great length because if you get there and you run out, there's no way to get more money. There's no way to get more money. So I recommend 1,000. I think that's more than enough. I think you'll come home with money, but I'd rather have you come home with money than run out when you get there, because there's no way to get more money. That sounds crazy, but there isn't. What are you going to buy for souvenirs? Well, what have I bought? I bought a bongo drum with a Cuban flag on it. I bought artwork. I bought old books. There is tons of crafts, carvings. And one of the places you're going to go is Fusterlandia. There's an artist, Gustav Fuster, and he did mosaics in his home, and now he's covered almost the whole neighborhood with mosaics, and he's a very talented artist. So I have had some of my members purchase his art while they were there. You do have to pay cash. He will ship it to you, so you don't have to carry it. But so if you're an art collector, then bring some more. And I think some of his higher works were in the $2,000 range. But if that's not you, everything else is really like $10, $10, $15. All of our transportation is included. All of our meals are included, except so we put $100 for lunches here, 100 for transportation, 100 for lunches. For the most part, you're going to be with Carla and you're going to be touring. And so again, if you have like a lunch, it might be $10 or $15. Any kind of drink in Cuba, which they're not, it's not diverse. You're going to have like rum and cokes and daiquiris. It's not like you're going to be able to get a cognac or something like that. It's limited because it's Cuba. So most other drinks are rum based, rum and coke, Cuba Libre, or rum, rum daiquiris. Obviously, there's non-alcoholic drinks, no problem. They have juices, and the coffees are amazing. There's people that kill for Cuban coffee, very strong. So if you don't drink coffee and you're a decaf person, I would just say you might want to bring some little packets of decaf with you. It's not going to be easy to find decaf coffee. So they can boil water and you can put the little like a Nescafe packet or something. So if you really can't drink regular coffee and you enjoy coffee, bring your own decaf packs.
Hey, Tammy,
Yep.
question. This is just maybe rumor, but I've heard it's better to bring euros versus US dollars because they can charge up to a 10% surcharge on US dollars on conversion. Is
Yeah.
that just garbage or is that real?
No, so it's real. And this is my advice about that. So in order to get euros, you're going to have to pay a fee to buy your euros. And right now the euro is almost identical to the dollar. So I don't think for the amount of money you're spending there that it's worth going through the exercise of paying a fee to change the euros. And by the way, whatever euros you don't spend, when you come home, you're going to pay a fee to change them back. And they're going to take your dollars there. They're really not going to. So before the pandemic, when you went to Cuba, you had to change your money to the Cuban peso, but you don't have to do that anymore. And at that time, there was a 12% fee. And so some people wanted to change to Canadian dollars or euros to avoid the 12% fee. But again, you're going to pay 4 or 5% to get that other foreign currency going in. You're going to pay another 4 or 5% to come out of that exchange. And so, but nowadays, post-pandemic, because their currency crashed, they're taking euros and US dollars. So if you hand somebody like a $10 bill for something, they're going to take it from you and they're just going to take it. If they give you change, it's probably going to be in US dollars, or they might give you some euros, but probably not. They're probably just going to give you US dollars because they don't really even have a currency anymore. So now I think I asked Carla about the money recently, so I'm confident that that's pretty close to being true. But again, this is a third world place, communist, it could have changed. But I don't think for the amount of money you're spending on souvenirs, I'm talking a few $100, I wouldn't go through the energy or the expense to change to get very little. The cost benefit ratio is low.
Okay, and I'm also hearing we should bring smaller denominations as well, just not hundreds.
Yes, bring smaller denominations because everything's cheap. And just make sure your bills are not torn, no tape, no writing on them. Try to get new bills. They're suspicious. They investigate everything. I went to the bank today because I'm going to Costa Rica next week with a group, and I had to kick back some of the bills. So if you're tipping somebody, well, they have to spend it again. So when they go to spend it again, and if it doesn't look good, somebody might not take it from them. So that's what you're facing. If you give a $1 or $5 bill that has a little tear on it, they're going to take it, but they may have to respend it. So if it's not a big hassle, try to bring newer bills or, crisper, newer bills.
I find that funny that they take US dollars. That's great.
Yeah.
Versus having to switch over to the Pedros or whatever it was that they used to
Yeah.
have.
The Cuban
Whatever,
peso.
it was the current, their own currency though. Because I just read recently that they were taking that. They weren't taking anything but that, as a matter of fact. So
Well,
that's good.
if you have to change it, Carla will help you change and she'll tell you when it's appropriate, but they had two currencies the last time I was there. They had the coupe and the seat. So they had their own little money for the locals, for the Cuban people, and then they had one that was used for international, but that's the one that crashed. So that's what she told me. She said that you know, that
That's cool.
they're I'm looking for the message from her to see if
Let me see if I could find what I was talking about. Let's see.
I have lots of time.
Peso, yeah, pesos. That was it. $1 for
Cuban
110 pesos. Yeah.
Right. So I think a lot of places are going to take your money, but she'll let you know if you have to change it and she'll help you change it. By the way, there's here, let's see, la la la. Oh no, that's a different one. By the way, I have to pay everything in cash. That's another interesting thing that's going on right now. So, okay, so yeah, I can't find it, but I'll send after tonight's email or tonight's event, I'll send an email to everybody with what I got from Carla here. So in
Thank
case
you.
I misaligned this or somehow misdirected, I'll let you know. But you're going to enter the country with US dollars. So no matter what, if you have to switch it, she'll help you. And I still stand behind my sentence that it's not worth the effort to change your money to another currency just to get it for just a few $100. Okay, so
Tammy,
Yeah.
I have a question about water.
okay,
I know you said, oh, you provide water on our tours, but is it easy to buy bottled water there?
yes,
Okay. I just didn't know if it wasn't available. It just like, you read stuff online, don't know if it's true. It says you can't really drink the water there, or
right,
or you should not.
right. You can
But
brush your teeth, like in the units. You can, it's like there's some places in the world you can't even, you have to use bottled water to brush your teeth, but that's okay. You can brush your
Okay.
teeth, wash your face. If you're in the shower and you get some in your mouth, you're not gonna get dysentery. But you should drink the bottled water. Your unit, your residents will have water, Carla will have water. And so you're not gonna have trouble accessing fresh bottled water.
Okay, good. Because I just drink more than like one bottle a day. I'll probably drink four or five. So I just wanted to make sure I could get it. Thank you very much.
You got it. And I will send her a message and let her know just, that I heard from some of the folks tonight that, they want to make sure that they have access to water. So she'll make sure she covers that for you guys regularly. All right, I'll keep continuing. This is great. This is really good stuff. Make sure that you don't pack any of these things here. You're probably not going to have any of this, but just, you never know. If you have prescriptions that you have to take, it's always better, whether Cuba or any other foreign country, to have your original bottles with you. Especially if it's something like, you're not allowed to do narcotics, but if you're taking something that's questionable, bring it in the bottle that has the prescription with your name on it. You can see here, anti-Cuba literature, walkie-talkies, drones, none of this stuff. Fresh fruits and vegetables, that's the same. We don't let it pass through our borders either because of little bugs. Okay. So getting some questions about what to bring. So because we know we come from a place that's so much more privileged, almost anything is accepted. I put a little list here. It does say we need to be discreet. Carla will let you know what to do with everything. She'll help you. very rarely somebody might come up to you while you're walking around and ask, do you have any lotion? Like the ladies don't have lotion. They don't have, everything's black market. So the stuff that, even like little hotel room things that we get, right? Shampoos and conditioners, those are great because we get them, they're free, they're tiny. That's a nice thing to have. But anything that's listed here, liquid soap, razors, toothbrushes, toothpaste, shaving cream, deodorant, crayons, pencils, papers, any school supplies, anything, Band-Aids, healing creams, right? Any kind of medical kits. I know somebody asked like about for Carla. So Carla's a mom. She has a 10-year-old daughter. And also, she works with a lot of other guides that are parents. One of the things they can't get are children's medicine, like children's cough drops or children's cough medicine or baby aspirin. Those kinds of things are not readily available to them in Cuba. So that's a nice one. And musicians, you guys are gonna have the most amazing musical experiences. Everybody in Cuba who has a level of talent or education, what's the word for this? A level of talent, or so when if they want to try out for college, there are skill tests, just like we do. We do SAT, ACT. If you pass with a certain level, then you get accepted to college and it's free. This is part of their program. And so there are just hundreds of musicians that have, this is their life career, right? So we have musicians, but these are careers that the country pays for them to be musicians. They get that same $30 a month. So their whole life is their music. And so everywhere you go, you're going to hear amazing music. These are life musicians who have studied. And that's the thing about Cuba, like they brag about their education, right? So they don't do anything halfway. So when you do get accepted, people are very well educated. So what could they use? Reeds for musical instruments or guitar strings, right? Anything to do with music is something that is in short supply in Cuba. They love baseball. So anything to do with baseball caps, balls, for kids, toys, candy. If you are of a certain, if you how do I want to say this? But let's say you're a believer and you want to bring some things from church, Bibles or prayer books or anything like that. That's a nice thing to bring, or just a little coloring book that's with Jesus, just something like that that you want to share with them. That's okay. Okay. It doesn't mean you have to believe that the other people in the group, but if you are that person, then it's okay to do that. You can do that. So any of those things are welcome. And does anybody have something that they had in mind that they want to ask about? Okay. And you don't have to bring something. I'll bring that up as well. There is no obligation. Not everybody may feel the need to do that, and that's okay too. Don't feel obligated. Don't feel guilty, right? And the rest of the group, if you're bringing something, that's what I just tell Carla. I have some things I'd like to help with this, and she'll help you do that. But if you're not, that's okay too. So I don't want anybody to feel the weight of that. Okay, we talked about prescriptions. We talked about the exchange. Carla will, if you have to exchange, she is going to help you, right? I guess this is what she had told me too, that don't do it until you meet her. And she's not going to change the money for you. You know how sometimes the guide will do it, but she's just going to make sure that you go to a place that's legitimate, that you don't get cheated. So here's some sample expenses, things I've already talked about. And then you are invited to give a gratuity to Carla At the end, we're suggesting 140 for the week. I know that by the time you're finished with her, you're gonna be blown away by the scenario, the country. She's so well versed, and she's a wonderful person. I don't think you'll object to that. But it is always with us at Singles Travel International an option. It's at your prerogative. We want to earn it. Okay, so we talked about bring double what you think you'll spend. You can always bring money home, but you can't get money once you're in Cuba. I think I've been clear about that for sure. Customs policy. So we kind of talked about cigars. They are unlimited. You're going to have to go through customs and immigration. So you can't bring any food unless it's hermetically sealed, but I don't think there's anything from Cuba that you're going to bring back. You can bring, here, we're talking about art, original art from Cuba, informational, educational items. I told you I bought books there. I'm very interested in the history and our relationship, the United States with Cuba. So I buy books about the revolution, about Che Guevara, about life in Cuba in Spanish and English. I love the study of this little island that's our neighbor. They do have the right to charge a little fee for customs, but I've never had that happen to me before. Rum is a great one. I mean, if anybody, oh my gosh, the rum. So Havana Club, they have just a regular brew. They've got a 5-year, a 10-year, and these are the 5 and the 10, or the 7 and the 10 rather. Those are sipping rums, right? Those aren't the rums that you're going to mix with Coke. So I know I'm not calling anyone out, but Gordon, I know I think you're like a whiskey drinker, right? Or you like your scotch or your whiskey bourbon. That's right. So it's akin to that, right? It's like a fine bourbon. These are the 10-year Havana Club rum is to be sipped with an ice cube, one ice cube in a glass, sipping with your cigar. So that's something that you would want to bring back, and your friends at home, that's a nice gift. I mean, gosh, it's cigars and really good Havana rum. We cannot buy the Havana rum here. Where was I this year? Oh, I was in Croatia in June, and I went to a place and they actually had Havana Club, because anybody outside the US gets Cuban products. So, but here in the US, it's impossible because nobody is allowed to have it, but we're allowed to bring it. These are allowed to bring back as souvenirs. Electricity, everything's 110, so you don't have any trouble with that. Somebody asked me about blow dryers. Carla did tell me that there are blow dryers in the residences, but she said they don't have all the attachments. They're a little bit older models. So if you have hair that needs a particular stream or a heat setting or something like that, you just might want to bring your own. Okay, we talked about the cell phones. They're not going to work in Cuba. You're going to be able to purchase a SIM card. She'll help you with that. Internet is limited. Again, Carla will be of assistance with all of that stuff. She knows when you get down there. She just really tours with Americans all the time. So she's well versed on everything. And again, we have included almost everything. So other than the gratuity to Carla at the end, we always have this paragraph in here, play nice. We don't want to have to remove anybody. That's only happened one time in 30 years that somebody was really unacceptable to be part of the group. But again, we're in a strange place. We know everybody gets stressed on the first day of travel. It's normal. You probably just killed yourself. You worked a 90-hour week just to get out of town. You may not know everybody. It's new. It's very stressful. So Carla's going to meet you with loving arms. We are going to take care of everything that you need. Just let her know. And after you get settled, just relax and have a good time. And remember that everybody in the group is different. They're coming from different places. We have different backgrounds, different religions, different worldviews. And we are all uniquely different. We are We have our own DNA. So there's no way that the next person in the group is going to be like you, right? In fact, we should imagine that they're going to be different. And that's what makes it interesting. We get to meet new and interesting people. So I know if the world was like me, it would be boring. If everybody was like me, a cookie cutter, it would be no fun. So, okay, guys. So now let's see. Yeah, we're just rounding out on the end here. This is when you come back. We love 5-star reviews on Google. If you don't want to give us a 5-star review, that's okay too. Put your comments in the survey. We give you $25 for commenting in the survey. We want to get better at what we always want to improve. But you know, we'd rather deal with you on any lack of service or provision privately one-on-one than telling the world. But it's obviously your prerogative. But if you had an amazing time, then please give us a 5-star review. So when you come home, if you do the survey, you get 25. If you do the Google review 5-star, you get 25. And then of course, if you refer a friend and they buy a trip, we also give you 25. So those are some of the ways to earn more credits on your next vacation. And we do have a continual feed on this vacation calendar. There's a link here. I recommend that you bookmark it. We're adding new trips. We added one last week. Oops, I didn't mean to do that, but here we go. We're launching another one tomorrow, and we have a luxury Galapagos on the yacht called the Flora in February of 25. We're going to launch that over the weekend. So stay tuned because everything is here. You guys know that we launched a luxury collection at the beginning of last year. So we are mixing with, affordable vacations. Then we have a luxury line. So if you click on all trips here, now we've got the luxury section. And in order to get to this list of future trips, you can click on calendar. And so as we launch new trips, they're highlighted here in blue. And now we've got a list of some of the upcoming vacations. So it helps you plan in the future. If you want to, know what's coming up down the line, as soon as we make a final decision, we put it up here. And if it's part of the luxury collection, it's got the diamond there as a denote. So I know I'm a little past 8. I'm so sorry that I went over. But that is, the tourist card. That's right. So sorry, guys, I did go over. Let's talk about your visa. So this is the very simple visa. You received it, it's blank. And you can fill it out tonight with me, or you can fill it out when you get to the airport. It's in English. So I'm going to go through it. If you want to do it now, you're welcome to do it. So the very first line, and you're going to duplicate exactly on the right what you've written on the left. So the first line is your last name, right? So it says apellidos, but underneath it says last name. So in this box, you're going to put your last name. It's so simple. The reason we make a deal about not filling it out is sometimes we just quickly start filling things out, right? And we don't pay attention and we don't read. At least I'm like that. A lot of you do read everything, but then there's another painful percentage of the population that we don't read and we just do stuff. And then we end up having to do it later. And I didn't want you to, quickly do this and then it's wrong, because they will turn you away if it's wrong. So, okay. First box, last name on both sides. The second line where it says nombre, and also underneath it says first name. So I got my little hand there. You can probably see that. There, you're going to put your first name, right? As it appears on your passport. So I'm going to use like Mercedes. So the first line is going to say Albert. Over here and over there. Next line, Mercedes. But of course, she has a different one. So Mercedes. Then for the birth of your birthday, fecha de nacimiento, date of birth, it's your day first. So I'm April 3rd. So I'm going to put 3. And then I put 4 for my month, which is April. And then my year. That I don't have to explain. Right, so that's reversed. For most of us in the USA, we put April, I would put 4/3/62. Here, I'm gonna put 3/4/62. Confession. And then you're gonna repeat it over on the other side. And then you put your passport number. A lot of us got the new ones. They begin with the letter A. And then your citizenship, which for everybody, I think here it's USA. USA. Okay. All right, guys. So now what I'll do is I'm going to end the video because we've been on for an hour. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording so that I can share it with those who aren't here. So I'm just going to do a little conclusion and then I'll stay on and we could do more questions and answers. So for those of you watching on YouTube, this is Tammy from Singles Travel International. I encourage you to take this trip to Cuba sometime in the future. Please follow us, subscribe to our channel, and visit us at www.singlestravelintl.com.